Welcome to Conversations of the Kaya podcast. I'm Sure.
I'm Kibet.
And I'm Nya.
Yeah, so bunch of guys just decided to start a podcast. It can be because we like the sound of our own voices, or as I would like to say, I think we've gone through we've learned a lot of things the hard way in running businesses, whether in tech, in climate, energy, and all these spaces we're involved in. And I think this is a good platform for us to, at least this is, for us to consider this a calling card to other like-minded people, so that you can have some company. I think sometimes it gets very lonely when you're dealing with your team and you're only looking at the same faces. You don't know that there's someone in Kiambu who's working on a similar problem. And I guess this is our platform for us to at least build that community and have sounding boards for some of the things we do. Yeah.
This guy he has this thing. So for you guys,
I think he's done it before.
He's done it before. This is the second time, and you've nailed it the same way. So we had to start over again.
Yeah.
But you've done really well.
Amazing. I think it makes sense for us to. Why is this podcast called Conversations on the Kaya? What is the Kaya?
Man, the Kaya, you have me to thank.
I think I have a right to thank.
You have me to thank. So we're moving here, and one Friday evening, we decided to come and check out the place. And we're sitting, and we say, hey, it had a different name then. And we're like, we have to give this place a name because we wanted to direct people to come.
Yeah.
Actually, someone was literally lost for having it.
I think like 30 minutes.
They got very mad,
They even got very frustrated and
they
always
left.
about to go back.
I think
No, they actually went back and then came back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that night we thought we should give it a name that has a bit of an identity and a bit of a feel of what we do. So what's the best way to get people to do such things? Motivate them with money.
Yeah.
The money bags said I'm gonna pay 10,000 shillings. Well, it is just for fun. 10,000 shillings for whoever gives a name that will stick. So everybody goes into finding mode.
Yeah.
And remember, all of us were consulting with our consultant.
Very, very good.
$20 consultants, as we
No
call
longer $20 consultant. At least for me. $200 consultant.
Sorry.
So there's several of them now.
Yeah.
At least nowadays you can hire many consultants.
Yes. And the consultant can spin sub-consultants.
And they can,
That's amazing.
without charging you.
And this guy used to do it for free. There's a time he liked the Chinese models and
Yes,
did around with
I
that.
remember. Anyway, back to conversations with the Kaya. So there's money on the table, so we all try and find the best names, right? So I think a couple were suggested, and we three them are in the group. But then none of them actually stuck on the first go. So everybody was like, no, what is this? So I chose the Kaya because one, we're on Mijikenda Road.
Yeah.
And the Mijikenda community in Kenya used to be in Kayas. So it has a feel of a home. So you're like the home of ideas, the home of where we challenge the ordinary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was the Kaya.
Can I tell you?
So was this the prompt you wrote to ChatGPT, or was it your thought process? I can't differentiate the two.
Of course, I have a
We
good
gave him a
name in
good
mind.
one. So the thing he's not told you was during that weekend, Mutai had lost his phone. He should tell you how he lost it. So he was in need of some donations. So he felt it would be a good way to support it.
There must be haters. Losers.
Anyways.
There were losers who lose. Those who lose gracefully.
They're so losers. We can see them 100%. I think for a bit of context, before we moved here, we were in a co-working space in Westlands. In all of those spaces where if you don't get your tea by 10, the other companies who are sharing the space will have finished all the tea in the coffee machine.
Let me even tell you how
You
we
get
got to that
tea
office.
without milk and sugar.
Yes.
There's a time they used to have, what was that tea? That we used to
Cardamom
like,
tea.
cardamom
Cardamom
tea.
tea, yeah.
And then I think something ended up happening. But even our journey in that co-working space, we had been looking at offices at Nairobi Garage, I think. And those offices ended up being very expensive. So I don't know how Evans did it. You will see Evans at one of our points during our conversations. But he found a place and we got 2 desks. And then he told me, Mutai is sitting somewhere. Let him come sit with us around here. You know what Mutai did? He came to the office. We didn't have money to pay for that desk. So we almost had to speak nicely to the reception, be buying coffee, tea every day so that she forgets on a couple of days that you're there. And then the days will automate. Mutai will come and I will be at home so that 2 people are always at the office. So from that to the Kaya, we felt it's befitting to help him take the name.
Oh, 100%. Well,
You had to take a jab.
I had to take a jab.
yeah. And I think if there's now that you're reminiscing on, our beginnings and everything, I think one thing that has been constant has been our embracing of change, and not embracing of change by virtue of the fact that we were incumbents embracing change. I think everything we have done, everything we're into, we always start off as the underdogs. And I think being an underdog, one thing it affords you is that you can experiment as much. The cost of failure is low. But as we've gone along, of course, that turns to the other side of the coin. And I think we've rode a couple of these technological waves that come. And I've unlocked a lot of potential. I think even the context of how we met was around blockchain. With one of the guys I was working with saying, "Hey, we always talking about this thing." I have a buddy of mine who's doing some really amazing work with blockchain, looking to raise money for energy projects. And I think with most of these technological waves, if you're diligently positioned, the upside tends to be outsized. And I think we're seeing it right now with the advent of AI also happening. I'm curious for you guys, not particularly with AI. You can speak on AI per se, but when it comes to these disruptive technologies, because as Africa, we've almost been playing catch up. I think this is the first time where I feel I'm at a same or at least borderline same position as someone on any part of the world who's working with this, because you've seen a lot of open source players keeping up with the frontier guys. I'm curious for you guys when you're especially for AI. How are you keeping up with everything, man? Like me, I get overwhelmed. My X, my Reddit is just. I decide when to stop scrolling when I'm tired. It's not I've run out of insight, so like let me stop doom scrolling and go do something else. So how are you guys, first of all, keeping up with things? Are you even on balance right now? Do you feel you have a good enough grasp of how fast things are moving?
I'd be very keen to hear it from his side because he's the software engineer
Yeah.
So,
of all of us,
I
and he's
think
gone through that journey. So how has that metamorphosis been for you?
I think in the last week, not week and a half, I don't think there's a night I've slept more than 3 hours because I can't sleep. Things are really changing fast there. They're moving very, 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 very fast. And yes, there's a point you made, and it reminded me of a story that I had in a podcast similar to this by Guy Raz. He was talking to the Khan Academy guys, and it said when they discovered GPT-3, Khan Academy was invited to before it was publicly announced and launched. Khan Academy was introduced to that, I think, several months prior to that, and they were the early testers, and all of these things. So it makes me wonder: are we ahead, or are we actually playing catch up? Maybe there are folks who know what's coming 6 months from now, and they said those guys said they were mind blown, at least from what I had in the podcast when they interacted with the first time. So I'm persuaded to think that there people probably know what's coming 6 months from now. And maybe what I strive to is be one of those people.
Or at least be a step behind them.
A step behind them,
Yes.
actually, yeah. But yeah, things are moving very fast. If you look at software, and being that that's what I've done for many years, I think we started with the traditional programming and whatnot. I think we were using the very old languages and C++. It's not very old yet. People still use it, but the technologies were leaning more towards desktop applications and whatnot. And then compute changes, and there's cloud, and now there's the ability to actually run very solutions on web, and the web becomes a thing, and everyone is going to that website of things. And then frameworks come, and frameworks simplify how you packages and frameworks. They come and simplify how you program because it bundles together a suite of the basics that you need to sort of organize as you start your project. And that the frameworks are still things that people use, and then but still you need to sit down, create, write, and do all of those things. Writing was a big part of it. Of course, there's the creation, there's the architecture, and the thing that has changed the most is that we no longer need to write. So it's no longer can you write this? It's have you actually understood what you're building? And that has changed everything.
Completely.
So it's now about knowing what you're building and knowing what it's for, and the impact it likely will have. And it's no longer about writing anymore.
Yeah.
So I wonder then if we still remain as software engineers.
Yeah. On that particular point, I'm really curious. From now the other perspective when it comes to team composition, because as you've said, the last 2 weeks it's been Claude Code and chill. I'm curious now the contrast between above and beyond just the technology and the frameworks and everything, what it will take to ship a software product then vis-a-vis now, and how you're seeing it evolving currently.
So I think the most interesting part and the most amazing part is that, I mean, it used to be a skill. Like it's how well you can organize a particular your folder, you do your folder structure, and it needed you to think and whatnot, and you'd be able to sort of come up with your own way of doing that version of rather the work that really was ahead of you. And because of that, you're differentiated because of your skill. Like it's your ability to do something that someone else can't do.
Cannot.
And that's what would get you ahead, even like from an organization perspective and whatnot. And by many rights, even organizations, it's how good they can do the things they do. And then comes AI. And like what I see with Cloud Code now is that skill, the very thing, and that makes you unique. It's something that someone else can borrow.
It's a markdown file.
It
Your
is.
whole career and skill set is a
Yeah.
markdown file.
And that's
A
something
skill.
that someone can borrow, and tomorrow
Yeah.
they would do equally as good as you. And if perhaps they have an additional skill, like design, then they can maybe even do better and faster.
That even makes me, even from where I'm sitting on an organizational perspective, I'm questioning the foundations under which we build a business. Because even if you look at our entrepreneurship journey until the point we've come, it's hinging to the point you've just talked about. Our value proposition and how we existed was clients were coming to pay for the information asymmetry that existed between the thing they wanted and the tasks needed to accomplish it. So they will come to an organization, trust that you've built a very core ecosystem around yourself that can be able to help them deliver. And that was the value you were giving to get your profit function, and that was the function you're using to hire staff to execute on that. Now we are coming to a point where skills are in a markdown. I'm even thinking, it almost feels like I have to change the foundations of how a business can be run. It's like I feel like nimerudi
Basics.
0.0, and now I need to think about what is value, because now a client can do the very same thing, like through asking you take the TOR and put it into a very good system like Manus, for instance, with very good prompting, and it understands you well, you're able to get equally as good an output as what you would have come to pay me for.
Dude,
so it's now thinking, how do you change? Like, 2-3 years from now, how will the future of work change? They've introduced cloud co-work. I don't want to get into the details of that, but that almost gives you a perspective change. And I've been at a point where I'm very excited because I'm seeing where the future is going to be. But I'm equally scared because I'm like, the amount of disruption that it will be done and what will be needed to move us to that point, it's a good kind of scary. You will have to almost be walking in the dark and just doing this and hoping you find it out. And it's a race. Speed has become the moat and distribution. It's a new world, man.
It's interesting because that's exactly what I was thinking about when I was coming to the office today from the session we had. And just a random thought came to mind. And I thought about India. And India, a huge chunk of their revenue has come through business process outsourcing, outsourcing of labor, right?
Cheap labor.
Cheap labor, and
affordable labor.
Affordable labor, yeah. So a lot of the programming gigs used to go to India. Someone would get something, they'll just get a tech shop in India to get the thing done for them at a fraction of the cost. It comes back, they maintain it, and I think it really powered the economy to a great degree.
100%.
But then out of just like in a few weeks.
Because interesting enough, on that same particular
That
point.
goes. How does it affect economies?
There's a job posting site. It's like LinkedIn, but it's mainly, I think, US and Canada, if I'm not wrong. I think even in the UK, it's called Indeed. So some guy he mapped out job postings in the software development space. And he mapped that against all these new models that are coming out, I think, from early 2020s. And you can see, I think from the time GPT-2 was coming out, job postings just went like this. There was a company that used to do assignments for students. I've forgotten the name. It's even publicly listed. Immediately GPT came out, even the stock just felt like people were like, well, this thing was you you have an assignment, you put it up, and then the basically a pool of people who opt in to want to help you with your assignment. And GPT launched, and I saw even the stock price took a beating. I think even uh, the best. I don't know if you guys have seen all these betting and prediction markets coming up. I think the closest you can get to predicting the future. I think markets are usually the best reflection of the future because any price, the price of any stock, the price of any particular asset you can have is usually just a discount on the future. If they see your company, given the current technological landscape, is unlikely going to be competitive in 5 years, you punish in the present. So for me, at least, maybe it's my bias because I have a finance background. But the biggest tell of this rapid shift coming was that, like, companies were getting immediately punished in the market when a product is launched, and they were like, "Oh, this is likely going to replace that function."
I would want to ask you, Surya, as well. How are you seeing the future of? Because these have been discussions that have been coming through. Oh, AI will come and take your job. Oh, AI will do X, Y, Z, and that's been, at least if you look at mainstream media, the kind of narrative that's being driven. Or stocks are, these guys are overvalued. They're doing X, Y, Z.
Circular investing.
In light with what we are saying, we're seeing in terms of the shift that is going to give. What's your take specifically on the future of work? Are we going to be obsolete, or what would you put as a spin for you on that?
Interesting. I will take it a step before work education, because I think that's where everything stems from. How the system used to work was that you'll go to school, and the assumption, at least the reason why your parents or whoever is investing, is that you're going there, you're going to be exposed to a particular line of work and best practices, and basically all the best ideas are being accumulated by people who have done similar work in the past, and that's what you're consuming, and they're basically expecting you to one at least have that as a baseline. But as you go in the real world or in a work setting, you're ingesting new information, and you're running it against the learnings that you've gotten. Of course, new learnings you get in the workplace above and beyond what you get in school. So that alone as a skill I used to be considered to be uniquely human. If I can get a bunch of neural networks to parrot out the Constitution of Kenya word for word, it implies that it's almost as if our brains themselves were taking on the role of an LLM. The same way an LLM cannot one-to-one retrieve everything that was used to train it. The same way when you're being taught, you not retain everything. You'll have some retention. And I guess what differentiates a smart person from an effective person is that the smarter person at least is able to retain information and make connections across those insights. So if you present education as that kind of concept, it means that even before you get to the workplace, even if you start talking about the future of work, how do you, for example, if you go by the case of software development, how do you, if, how do you train someone for something that's already happening? Um, a better way to put it will be, I can't say I have 100% of an idea on what exactly the future of work is going to be. Because I think even when I do a bit of reading, Harvard Business Review usually do a lot of this AI deep dives with different companies, and you find that it's at least initially, as best practices being established, it's always a trial and error process. But even despite the fact that we're very early stages and we're still figuring it out, there's some things that have stuck out for me. One thing that has stuck out for me is that the organizational structure used to be humans organize themselves in hierarchies. And most of these hierarchies in most companies or in most businesses used to be based on tenure. So you have been doing this for 10 years. If I come into the workplace, you're likely, I'm not saying it's the case for every time, but you're likely to be more senior than I am just by virtue of that experience. But when you have such effective tools that are able to negate my experience, my 40 years experience is a cloud code skill. That means that as a 50-year-old, I'm in as good a position as a 20-year-old because
On the knowledge
on
side,
the knowledge side,
not
yeah,
the
on the
experience.
knowledge
Yes,
side.
on the knowledge side.
So I'm seeing um, less emphasis on technical skill and more emphasis on soft skills and relational skills, just by virtue of the fact that if I want to make slides, I'm prompting. If I want to make a report, I'm likely prompting an AI back and forth to make the report. So one thing I'm foreseeing is that we're going to have to rethink what tenure means. There's going to be a flattening. I think usually these organizational structures, there's this pyramid, there's a flat. I think by default, we're going to have a flat structure where it's more about outcomes vis-a-vis what you know and how much you've been able to hold in your head. That is up for debate once again. Secondly, um, for me, I think we are going through something I'm calling the great dumbing down. What do I mean by the great dumbing down? Once again, less emphasis on technical skill as much as it's needed, less emphasis on technical skill, but also with the dumbing down, it comes, it's a double-edged sword. If your quality of your output and the quality of the team you've put together used to be the one that will determine if you get business and the other person does not, if that's no longer a competitive advantage, it becomes a matter of to what degree can you meet the client where they are vis-a-vis them seeking you? And by meeting them where they are means, my client has access to ChatGPT. What is that orchestration of tools, of systems you've built inside your company that can directly be able to add value to the client without requiring them to outrightly come seek you for your knowledge? So I think Nyangen has been toying around the same idea. I think you can jump into the second brain idea that you have, because I see where I'm seeing at least the future of work is humans are going to play an orchestration role vis-a-vis outright implementation role. So I see a lot of orchestration, and as we go along, you're going to be abstracted further, where it get to a point where the agents are doing orchestration for other agents. It's already happening, by the way.
The analogy I wanted to use when you talked about that was, and I think we've talked about it,
Yeah.
the cars part analogy. So right now, I almost feel like the tools and what AI is managing to do is equivalent to certain tools. Like the compute, the data centers are like the engine, it's what drives everything. And then let's say an LLM model is like the steering wheel and how to guide the car the right way. It gets to a point where the basic fundamental of the tool, you need to orchestrate, and I think you're talking about that, a framework, a system, so that those who found value, because I can easily ask you, for the car that you drive, the manual exists online. There are people who do DIY videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
There are people who are car enthusiasts who take a similar path and are able to open up the car and do it. So in terms of information being available to you, it's here. But in human nature, mechanics businesses have never gone away.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of humans would want to put their effort in understanding that. And you've created an ecosystem that makes it very easy for them to move around. So I feel like these tools, what AI is doing, what Manas is doing, and everything that comes out of that will all be parts. The next phase of how work moves is who does the assembly. So your analysis of knowing that this is a Toyota market, and this is how I build a bespoke Porsche 911, and these are the guys who need a haircut, heavy. So the people who will be able to design the machines to meet the clients where they are, that's how you're going to be able to do it. It won't just be an accumulation of everything. So it will be how all the parts constitute to one, how well you do that and do it at factory scale and more efficiently than everyone else, because it will be an economics thing.
Yeah.
So it will be economies of scale, which is where distribution becomes a very big thing. That's why Google right now is almost competing really well with ChatGPT.
They beat them in terms of usage, by the way.
Yeah,
right now, when they first introduced AI mode, they used to hide it.
Yes.
But now it's on the
Right,
main
right,
page.
yeah.
You Google,
Yes,
the first result you see is AI.
and things are going to change like that. So I mean, I feel like,
Yeah.
and that's why these guys are betting. Let me just add one conspiracy theory. If you're looking at ChatGPT, I think they're valued at 500 billion at the moment.
Yeah.
And they charge us $20, and they have a billion users roughly. So that's 20 billion in ARR.
Yeah.
For what they're currently valued now, don't even look at where they're looking to scale in their plans. You will have a payback period of 25 years. If you're lucky, forgetting the depreciation of even the machines and the computers you've managed to do.
Yeah.
So these guys are not playing the game of subscription to help you do this. When they keep talking about
There's a longer
AGI,
play.
I almost feel like there are people who are 6 months, the things that will come to us 6 months from now, that there are people in the background who've thought about that. And those are the things that almost tick me off when I feel like us as Africans are almost waiting and playing the waiting game. We're enjoying so much the use of ChatGPT right now. And we're forgetting this is
6 months.
2-3 years ago, we had Khan Academy.
To go back to your analogy, the car analogy that you put forward, I think all the levers to make us or any particular Africa or whoever to be in the lead. Of course, one of them, 100%, it's a issue of capital. And if you're talking about capital, I think the US has the most risk-taking capital in the world. I think
China.
as far as investing,
Okay.
in China,
I see
China
that.
have gotten where they are through central planning. In the US, it's free markets. It's just a bunch of guys is like, I want to invest in your risky thing. You want to go to Mars? I'll give you $1 billion. So there are those competitive advantages that I think are stacked. Not, I can't say against us, but other countries have had a jump on us in terms of having these things already set up. But I think the one lever that places us, the reason why I think no one is ahead of anyone in the real sense is because it's all about context. And context comes from data is king in the age of AI. So the reason why I'm so confident, and I think I'll hold this opinion for as long as I live, because if I concede in my mind, I've already conceded in every other way, is that the competitive advantage is that we are in Africa is literally where we are. There's a bustling market. I think by 2050, 1 in 4 young people are going to be Africans. So it means the African reality is going to be the strongest. The other people exist. China exists, India exists, but I think people always sleep on that demographic bulge that is coming up, and I think we're going to have a huge consumer market. I wish I had my numbers up and up, but I always do. Next time I think I'll have them, but if you are going to extrapolate, look at the demographic bulge that is coming up. There's going to be a very good African market you can play in, and I think you're going to see unicorns coming out of Africa by virtue of the fact that the market is developing. And the reason why I'm saying, tying it back to whatever you're saying, is because I think the biggest advantage we have in Africa is most of the training, most of the data that's been used to build all these frontier models has been from the other parts of the world. So Africa is almost a dark continent, not in the context that it was called dark continent in the past, but in the present sense. And I think that's the biggest opportunity. There's so much hyperlocal data, and that data unlocks so much opportunities.
They say, you guys have talked about so many things. I'll talk about education. I'll talk about that the vehicles that I put together. I love vehicles. But just to that point, they say for a long time, Africa has been described as a country that is, as a continent. Man, the people look at it like,
changed in
colonize your mind.
yeah, no. I don't like it actually. I say, you're from Africa? No. So, but anyway, there's been a notion that Africa is data poor. But I think it has been debunked very quickly, and people are saying, and what we're saying as well, is that it's not that we are poor in data. It's just it's not in a digital format yet that can be used for training and all that. And I think I really genuinely think it's a blessing in disguise, because data that is very local to Africa, including indigenous data, including data that governments have collected, are not in the format that would basically have any model just basically picking that out. Any scraping would happen and you'd get that out. So I feel like we are advantaged in a great sense, because we get to decide how we want our data to feed these things. I know there's already like a narrative up and whatnot, and they say there's a bit of bias here and there, but I still see it as a huge advantage, and that we then have a chance, especially sovereigns have a chance to use that data meaningfully and price it right, and actually have that value trickle down perhaps to the citizens through a concept that this gentleman has said he is giving his all this year. But yeah, there is that's one of the things that I've had a lot.
You were saying something about fixing cars.
Yeah, before I even get to fixing cars, I go to schools. Man, I ask myself that a lot, like, as well, what are we doing? And
If I had a kid,
the thing you're doing with Lel on storybooks.
Yeah. So
please do tell us.
So my daughter is 5, and I've started to do a lot of things with her with AI. I'm not exposing her too much, just a few minutes before she goes to school. So as we have breakfast, she likes to play around with tools. So the ones that she would understand now are those that either would generate an image, a video, storybooks. So every morning we do 3 things. One is that she'll describe an image of something very arbitrary. Oh, I want to see, the latest that she did was a rainbow, was a monkey that's latching on a rainbow. so she creates this and she sees it. That's using Nano Banana, and she's wondering, and then she's like really excited. And she goes in on end. Okay, now I want to do this, now I want to do that. But I think what it's creating, it's causing her to know that she can imagine, dream, think about something, and actually it'll come to her if she just basically is able to articulate it very well. And there are days that she hasn't, and the output is different, and she's getting to refine that prompt engineering.
Yeah.
So we do that. We as well create a video, because I think with Gemini they allow you a couple of free
Free
videos. I don't know free
generations.
videos, paid. Even in
Oh,
the paid
VO3,
plan,
yeah.
VO3, you're able to just like maybe do a few of those.
Mhm.
And so she'll do one or two videos,
Mhm.
and then she'll do a storybook using
Yeah.
using
So
Gemini.
she's
And I'm
doing her
not
own
paid by
storybook and
I'm not paid
also
by Google, guys. Yeah, so she'll
nice.
make her own storybook, like 10,
And
11
even
pages.
creates herself in the
In the
storybook. So
In the
storybook,
storybook.
yeah. Now she knows
Nice.
how to lay the context in a
Uh-huh.
very nice way. She'll say who she is. She'll
Mhm.
say where she's from, because
Mhm.
sometimes it just gives like something random. So who she is, where she's from. If the story involves her teacher,
Uh-huh.
she'll say the teacher. If it involves her mom,
She'll
or that,
say,
say okay, the name is this and this. So it comes and it's a story, and you can see her light up.
mhm.
And she actually does stories about the things she likes, like
Yeah.
swimming. Be like, also I went and I did a big splash.
Uh,
She's almost replaying
oh, in her head. Ah,
uh,
what she did when
nice.
she was in it. So school, and I feel like that is really going to change, and I feel
Yeah,
like the way people consume knowledge is
it's going
really
to
going to
change.
change,
Uh,
and education is really going to
I
change.
almost feel like there's an opportunity
uh-huh.
for me, if I didn't, and these are one of the many ideas that I hope they don't go to a graveyard now with AI
Yeah.
being very efficient. I feel like we need to start a school that will embody. Remember, there's a time we wanted to go to Estonia and borrow some of those things. I feel like there's a very big market for people who are starting to become aware that the next world order and how our current system is training our kids are not
Yeah.
available. There's an opportunity to start a school that will teach
That has this
This
the current reality of where the
of how
future
Tell you
things
work
what,
is
get
going.
done.
Yeah.
I would take my daughter there.
Because
Right now, I
Yeah.
can risk.
you
She's
know,
still very young.
for me,
I'll actually take her.
yeah, there's a bit of a generational divide. But for me, when I was in school,
And
I
that's how you've just dropped the bomb.
for me when I think it's in primary school, we were being taught how to write telegrams. Come home now. I was taught all those things, even tested on exams. My whole life, I've never written a single telegram. I don't know how the fuck a telegram machine looks. So I think that's a good example of how the education system usually lags what's going on in the real world. And I think a lot of students right now are being done a big disservice. For the ones in primary, in below, the ones in high school and below, maybe there's an opportunity in the sense that you're just learning key tenets across different areas of study. But I think the ones that are being done the biggest disservice are the ones who are in uni right now. Because I did sometime last year, I did a talk at Moringa, and it was basically software engineering in the age of AI. That was, I think, the theme around it. And I remember after I finished my session, one of the guys who came to talk to me, he was a student at Moy, and he was telling me, dude, I'm doing web development, and I've just watched your speech. What do you think? Me, I told him, bro, just stop. I'm not saying go to another course or learn AI. Just stop there. Get you 2,000 shillings. Get you $20. Get on ChatGPT. Build out a website. Build out some of these things. Just build. Like, I think the reason I said people in uni are being done the biggest disservice is that there's someone currently who's learning or gaining a skill that I can do 70, if not 90% as good as he would by paying $20 right now. And so I think the if you're in uni right now, I will be
Let me tell you a funny
definitely.
story. Because in a
Uh-huh.
previous life, I used to be a
A
lecturer.
Mhm.
And one of the COVID came and changed how we were going to do examinations. I used to do the courses that will have a lot of coding involved in them. So in financial engineering, how you do Black-Scholes model, how you automate them, all those funny things. Back then, exams used to be the coding exams. You used to write them down
Mhm.
on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I did that.
You did that. So I introduced it to say it will be open book.
Mhm.
I'll give you 3 hours, take your notes.
Uh-huh.
I'll set the exam. I'll just block how you communicate on social media.
Mhm.
But go to Stack, back then it was Stack Overflow.
Mm.
And when COVID ended, the school was not comfortable with that kind of teaching I was doing. Because I'm allowing students to reference the books. But I was telling them, even myself, I never remember these things. This is a process I usually do. I go to Stack Overflow, I find what the problem is, go to Google. So why not allow the students to build a skill like that? When I left, it was in 2023, they reverted back to writing. And given how I know institutions move, I'm hoping they've changed. I can't speak about that, but I know how institution moves. There will be a lag. And I'm imagining those things that they're doing right now. If I take the course outline,
I went for a master's course,
yeah.
and I remember sitting in a class once, and they're talking about the history of computers. I'm like, what in the world is this?
I was guilty of teaching that in first year a couple of years ago.
History of computer. That's something. So and sadly, that's the very thing that people are
I know.
learning. So it's very disappointing. And you raise a good point, yes. When you're in the foundational years, you need to approach education by actually gathering learnings from different parts and tenets. But then I've seen this modeled in a school that I've been following. They do 2 hours of learning, 2 hours of deep learning using AI, and then they spend the rest of the day building skills, life skills. So doing a pitch. So you go before the other students. You're actually setting up an actual business, yeah, and doing things that would matter outside of the technical skill. So the people skills, because a lot of these things you're talking about, I think it was Nyangen asking, okay, what do businesses do anymore, or what would people be doing, right? And I think a lot of these things will even come from these relationships.
Yes.
And how well someone, because it will be one person trusting the other. Yes, I could get it from a million people, but I feel like I have known you, and I like how you do your things.
Because, as you said, skill will no longer be a thing that differentiates you. So it's more of on the relationship what you've managed to build.
Yeah. So they learn a lot of those other things. Spend 2 hours. And the surprising thing is that the SAT score is higher than the average. Than like not even the average. Like they're performing better than other students. So I think that needs to be changed very radically and very fast. Because we can't. I mean, the generation that's coming. And I also read something very interesting about why we even like schools and how we got to learn things.
A quick question on that before you get into that. And this is the risk of sounding like a dissident. Right now, for you to do the current education system, where you take a person to primary, etc., and you have to get accreditation, is because, and I don't know on the licensing part, maybe you guys can tell me. You have to go to school because schools are licensed to give you, they've gotten the necessary certification so that when you're saying you have a KCSE certificate or a KCPE certificate, it can actually be trusted by an organization. I don't know if I was talking with you and you're telling me someone has created a new system of education. So I was trying to imagine, if you have forward-thinking parents who will know that the system, if you embed a trust system within the education framework that you're doing, what's to stop me from starting a thing like that right now and allowing people to do it online and running it like a normal business? I don't need a certificate, a certification. And the parents has a confidence that when their kids eventually graduate from this thing, the new market that they have seen is coming, is going to allow or accommodate that kind of accreditation. And you can probably talk about that. You had given a very good, interesting framework that they were using to do an analysis.
So I think like, even homeschooling is similar to what you're talking about. You basically, I think the thing that the curriculum is what defines the KCSE. So they've fixed you to a curriculum, and you have to be examined against that curriculum. So you do that exam, then you get that, and you're accredited in a sense, right? And what you're saying is that maybe that curriculum is not fit for now.
It's not.
And what I was looking around and I saw that someone is working on a university, an AI-based university, a university that uses AI to teach you everything that you need, for example, in computer science. And it's unbiased. It delivers with the level of delivery that perhaps a Harvard professor would have delivered, because it's as good as that.
Is it similar to Google Learn Your Way?
Learn Your Way has a lot more. You can give it like a PDF, and then it'll break it down into ways that you can actually learn it. So yes, but perhaps they borrowed from skills of very good tutors and whatnot. So so this, what they've done beyond just the Socratic learning, you remember that? Beyond that, they've been able to create a way to their curriculum and a way to examine that in such a way that then if people trust that it delivers good quality education, then it's likely going to be a university that is as good as Harvard or even better. And then it's available anywhere. In Turkana, someone can actually...
so you're on a level playing ground with someone.
Exactly, with everybody. So you really don't need
even work on. See, that's what... Because I did work on...
Oh, that was personal identity.
It was personal. The only thing I would want to add as being on this other side, even if you look at because I know all of you guys were not very good university students, you were rebels. There was a social aspect that cannot be taken away from AI. So as you're building this, and especially even in the younger years, as we think about this, and I can see we're very excited, myself included, on how the future of education can be. I'm wondering how you capture that social aspect, because that's where I learned friendships 100%. Majority of the time. Most of the people, Evans.
Yes.
I was with him in class one. Like, there are certain relationships you build over time, and
that's true.
that skill you're talking about on them using the rest of the time to build. How do you create an ecosystem like that and support that?
Have you
That
guys,
would be equally
have you
important.
guys watched a movie called Ready Player One?
Man, I don't
No.
remember the last.
This man doesn't watch
Nice.
movies, man.
So the main concept, at least the main premise of the movie, is that it's this post-apocalyptic future. Um, everyone is in their house glued to these headsets, and basically they've made it in such a way. There's been a meshing of the virtual world and the real world where you can actually go in game or in this meta world, and you're able basically to transact. You're able to make. There's a genuine economy going on inside. It's like Roblox, but they know Roblox right now. They even ads running inside. So it's a very dystopic view of the future, but the general idea is that we have developed to have advanced so much as humans to the point where we are constantly glued in this virtual world. The world around us is going to shit. We're disconnected from each other. The food is super processed, and we all have our daily dose of microplastics and heavy metals. But then I think as much as that's taking it to the extreme, I believe if we keep going along this path, because if you look at all these other technologies that are coming in, you have AI.
Ads from Palantir as well.
Yes, dude.
Showing that kind of
Yeah, you have AI coming in. You have meta classes coming in. Like, if you just look at the current technologies that are budding, robotics is also catching its stride. With all these technologies, we just do an extrapolation. Extrapolation is never a good predictor of the future, but if you just look at the budding technology and you push them to the future, we're being pulled away from each other. It's more of phones already doing it, but I think if you have the phone 24/7 glued to your eyeballs, it means you're more even disconnected from the real world.
Maybe we're in a simulation and then just stepped into level 2.
So I was just talking to a friend of mine, and they're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
They're telling me they had a dream. Sorry, this is banter, but nonetheless, they're having a dream where AI. Forget about what we're doing is LLMs, etc. So for them, it's the same concept of how we talk about ideas. Do you usually come up with ideas, or the collective intelligence allows you to peep it through it? So he was saying they had a conversation with AI, and the essence of AI was showing them that we've now managed to find the tools necessary
Go to the next.
to come to the next level, and we're now just figuring it out. We've almost come to, how that nomina and the phenomena, like how we're now collapsing to, we've now found the necessary tools to collapse into a new part of reality that was almost unaware to us. We're getting excited, but it was the AI talking to them, telling them now, you've just scratched the surface. There's a lot more.
This is actually not far-fetched as much as you making it sound far-fetched. Because if you look at the frontier, you saw Marx saying you're building a new god in Memphis. Because it feels otherworldly. We're literally, this is an alien. I'm asking opinions about things on Earth, but it's as close to an alien as you can get. You even saw Peter Thiel did 4 lecture series on the Antichrist, AI and the Antichrist, and basically they're opposing it. It's almost like there's been a convergence between the tech world and this metaphysical, spiritual type of world where it's more of, hey, this thing potentially get to a point where it's more capable than we are. Does that make it? Because if you think in the real sense,
there's been this question: has it actually come up with unique? I think there was a paper I saw the other time where they did a study in MIT and they had given the LLM a new task that helps it create something, and it was very trivial, but it ended up failing. I've forgotten. I read it a couple of days back. But it was trying to show that it doesn't have the ability to generate new ideas, and I'm sure there are other people who've tried getting down those paths.
100%. My caveat for sorry for cutting out. My caveat for the new ideas thing is, if you think of LLMs in the real sense, they're just parrots. They're just repeating different. They're just throwing out vectors that make sense to us, but they're mainly based on information we've fed into the systems. The reason why, for me, as much as I'm not 100% of the opinion that they can't come up with new ideas, is because as humans we've had the monopoly on sight, we've had the monopoly on basically our 5 senses. But right now you're getting to a moment where these LLMs, one, we had a monopoly on intelligence and brains. They have LLMs. Sight, these cameras, I think you're having full self-driving cars all over the place. Not here yet, but in due time. So sight is no longer a uniquely human trait. Hearing, the same thing, speakers can capture quite good information.
So the thing you work with on your
Yes,
It's capturing.
dude, it's capturing everything. We're literally walking around, we're detectives spying on each other constantly. So if you think of it, we had the monopoly on collecting primary data. That's why we assume any system we build can never come up with anything new because you're the ones feeding the information directly. But now imagine a humanoid robot. It has visual sensors or cameras, whatever it is used to capture whatever it's seeing around you. It can able to capture sound, all the senses that humans have. So this primary collection of primary information that used to be a uniquely human thing to do, the systems can also do it. The if you if you deduce that further, the implication is that these things can come up with new information in the sense that the primary information capture was done by an AI system. The ingestion of this information was done by an AI system, and then it's able to look through and make connections just by virtue of the fact that it collected its own information. I'm not saying AIs are as good as we are, but I think as with any other opinion you hold, I hold strong opinions loosely held. That's
Do
my
you think it has human creativity, not human reasoning?
do you know for an LLM when you can adjust the temperature, there's something called temperature for LLMs. Temperature determines how creative an LLM is. If it's too high, it can either extremely it's either very haphazard in its outputs or very controlled. So do you think that temperature
I want to see where he's going with
is a
this.
stand-in for
Yeah, there's temperature and all that, right?
uh-huh.
That speaks to
You didn't
what you're
understand.
just talking about.
So, yes, there's temperature, and you can make it very warm and whatnot. You can make it very, very creative as well. But the question is it creativity by our standards? It's what we defined as creativity. But it's not come up with something abstract that no one has defined. Like, if there's no definition of that,
Yeah.
then can it come up with that
With
thing?
yeah.
Because the fact that a human being actually came up
Interesting.
with AI, like,
Uh-huh.
Mm.
would it have? Does it have the ability to create, say, a mini human
Mhm.
or a demigod?
I almost feel like my approach to it is similar to where you're talking about. I almost feel like what we're getting to live right now, there are many facets to what make a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like part of the fascination for us is that this tool has helped us level the ground to one of the things that we consider important in the capitalistic age, which is intelligence and the ability to do that. What AI has managed to do is it's flattened the curve because, as you say, the people who've created AI are these smart guys. Like, even if you look at China, why China is beating US is they're very particular on model efficiency as opposed to throwing compute. But it shows that how I'm looking at it is that what LLMs have managed to do is bridge the gap between us commoners, if I can call them that,
I'm not in that. I'm not in that.
and the people who are quote unquote intelligent. So we are getting to see the marvel of what it actually, the common person on the normal distribution is getting a sense of what it actually feels like to be intelligent, in a sense. That's why we're very excited, because these are not things that our minds will have normally processed. It's even exceeded what the creators of the same tool have done. It's even, and I think that's what we're trying to say is eventually going to end up with. But then now my question becomes, intelligence matters in a capitalistic environment, but there are many other facets to what make you human. So even a working space, you could have easily gone and worked by yourself. Part of the reason why even a company and ecosystem exists is that we are social beings. We need to exist in a social cohesive framework. So that AI can never take away, and how humans work with each other. I feel we're going to get to a point where the same capitalistic framework will come through. I think it's one of you was talking about that. They will rate limit these models. I can guarantee you that.
I feel like
They're gonna rate limit these things. And the moment so eventually this will end up being a monopoly with access layers created. And we'll create a new capitalistic economy around that.
So
And then it will no longer be an interesting thing. It will now depend on where do you stay. If you're disenfranchised as Kenya, let's say, for instance, China has moved a lot more. So their quality of life and the things they're able to do and their creativity, which could not have been captured with AI, they will just have access to those things very accelerated because they have the tools. But I almost feel like there are certain things that AI has yet to capture. I don't know if that is what AGI is going to think. I am doing the same thing. You may say something fixed in something and flexible in.
strong opinions loosely
So
held.
I have a strong opinion on those AI because I am coming to the realization that these tools that we are creating can go seek for information and process because that's what I'm literally doing right now. I'm trying to use my mind, the connections I have, and all the information I'm taking right now to make a next best prediction of what I think the future will
Will
be
be, yeah.
based off all the information. Maybe when AI gets sight everything, it can make a better deduction as to how things would be. But I feel like what we've gotten, yes, it's very exciting, it's that, but it's just showing us what intelligence
Yeah, because
means, and
I've
intelligence
just
has been the thing that has been driving the currency of this economy.
I've been wondering if I could get something like, I know Llama you can't do much, but if I could get in and remove the guardrails.
oh, there are a lot of uncensored. If you go to Hugging Face, there are very
There are
many
many, there are
uncensored
many answers, but
models.
they don't have. If you look at the size of the model itself,
They're not frontier models.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
not a frontier model,
Yeah.
so you can get much from it.
Mhm.
But if I could, and I think maybe that's what they try to do. They do
Yeah.
one of them that ended up attacking other
Oh
guys.
yeah, but then you saw someone, Claude, they hacked that.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention brands.
I think for me, I know you'll have to forgive me. I think every episode, I mean, I'll mention Claude Code at some point, probably until it
Fair
gets
enough.
disrupted. But
Yeah,
yes,
but I mean, those guys, I think they're doing what nobody else in the
yeah.
world has done
I've
as
just
far as
I've just realized the whole conversation you're having around education, the
And by the
future
way,
of work.
just we're still on time, eh?
check it. Education. I had a few points on
Okay,
education.
go
One,
ahead on education.
so there's something I read that was very interesting that education was created for the industrial age,
Mm,
right? Like people had knowledge, but not formal education, but they condensed it into certain pathways and subjects to aid in industrialization, right? And that was the whole premise of specialization, where you have very wide things, but then they want you to be very efficient in a small thing so that you can move things faster in that particular realm. There was an argument that we're moving away from the age of specialization,
mm-hmm.
and we're going back into general. So
Generalization.
it's the age of the
Mm-hmm.
generalists, where if you know that these are the, I need to have these frameworks in terms of accounting,
Yeah.
this and that, and you know that um, from a software perspective, you have a back end and a front end, and you have a database,
Yeah.
and you have this and that, and
You
you
don't even
can
have to know that.
It's just learning the
GPT can
just
teach you
yeah.
that.
So
yeah.
so being a bit general now, and maybe that's one of the things that should change in education, where maybe people will not focus more on getting master's degrees and PhDs
The accolades, yeah.
unless it's something that has been very, very
Yeah.
difficult to figure out. But it'll be more, I
Yeah.
think
Because
generalists will have a place to actually like.
there's this article idea that's been going around. I don't know if it's a Maltman who said it. We're going by the end of this decade, we're going to have the first one-person unicorn. I think it goes back to that point I was saying on orchestration. So a generalist type of person, it means how effectively can you orchestrate different services, different toolings around you to deliver value to the next person. I can't say. I think primarily, we have been talking about education, we have talked about the future of work. I think the underlying layer is just we have to rethink capitalism as a whole. Because how you get economic value, how do you get economic value? Do you expend yourself in a physical activity or mental activity, and then you're rewarded as a score of the effort that you put in? So, in a world where this work is abstracted and it's being done by machines, where do you derive, not even where do you get money, where do you derive self worth as a person? Because most of us, our self perception is based on our skills, the work we do, and the things we do. So when that no longer exists, there's a fundamental human question of what does it mean to be human? What does it yeah?
Gaming will go.
Skyrocket? And
And I'm telling you, that's going to be my future. I'm telling you that I'm going to retire into gaming and become a van lifer
uh-huh,
with Starlink, my screens, competitive gamer.
yeah,
And I feel like I will enjoy that, and people will be watching. I sit down. Arenas are filled with games, but
yeah.
anyways, forget
In
about
the
it.
in the case of Africa, in that particular world. So let's assume this post-capitalist world where the capitalist system has been disrupted by this technology and we're not attributing value the same way we did. One idea that's been that's been thrown around, I think, is slowly becoming a consensus is having a universal basic income. And for me, I'm not proposing that, but my question is more from the African perspective. I'm curious what you guys think. If there's already social service to some degree in most countries, even in Kenya, there are money for wazee, the old people. It's not as much, but that's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that social services in countries that are high income countries are more can support even the weakest in society. So in a post-capitalist world where even for us in a capitalist world we're not able to provide for our weakest, in a world where The work and value has been abstracted. What do,
I'll
what is
interrupt you for
neat
one
for
minute.
Africa?
You said a post-capitalist world. I just feel like it will be an adjusted capital. It will still be a
Uh,
capitalistic.
uh
It's just an adjusted one from what we understand it, but
You
nonetheless.
think it
No,
has
the
a
reason why I'm
different.
saying post-capitalist because everyone is there's this thing that's been thrown around that we're going into an age of abundance where the cost of services, the same way things become cheaper and more accessible to more people. If knowledge is becoming cheaper, it means the value it was providing can be accessed by more people by virtue of the fact that it's cheaper.
Has the problem ever been that? Uh, I know, yes, there's a good point where you raise a price based on the difficulty of work, right? But it's, I think that's part of a bigger ecosystem. Like it's falling within an umbrella
Mhm.
because I feel like there's something that has defined what needs to circulate,
Mm.
and then the value of that is distributed
Mhm.
in a different sense. So I feel like that will still remain.
Mhm.
There'll still be like I can call it the market capitalization, whatever that would be. That will remain the same, but how it's distributed now
Mm.
will be different.
Yeah, but I think it's going to
See,
make wealth
it's the same
inequality.
example you gave me. And I think I was talking to him about self-driving cars and where we're going to go with Tesla and the concept of Uber. At the moment, that entire ride-hailing ecosystem supports families. Very big here in Kenya.
Mhm.
Imagining you're getting to a point where you're doing self-driving cars. The thing that will be sold to us as a consumer is that
Cheaper rides.
cheaper rides. You will probably be paying 1,000 Kenya shillings. Now you're paying 200 for the same ride. Fair enough. You can say the more disposable income for me to use, for argument's sake. But the guys who you're saving the disposable income are guys who are affording Uber. So they're not exactly your common majority. The common Mwananchi was a guy who was driving.
Mhm.
And that guy is out of a job, and the 20 shillings that they will have been getting is now going where? To the self-hailing
The
cab.
value will not be money anymore. Come to
Yeah.
think about it.
Yes,
Like
yes.
the value won't be money because
Actually
what
think
are
it will
you
be
using that
compute.
money for?
Yeah.
Me actually
Yes.
feel like in the capitalistic ecosystem, value will now move to compute. It will be on how
Yes. How much?
even sovereigns, how much you're investing in sending compute, because compute will be now the new measure of labor
Mhm.
Yes, yes, yes,
to
yes,
do the
yes.
work. So it's how you move that. And then now for the rest of the people, when we'll have a society where identity
Everyone will be
will
having
move.
an identity crisis.
Imagine even your parents right now, like, and the thing that concerns me a lot is my mom right now, or even people who are 10 years younger than my mom, who are parents to kids who are going to university.
Mm.
They are the people who we say in our industry have the incumbents.
Mhm.
So even when they're advising the younger ones, they'll be doing so from a point of misinformation, of not understanding that.
Yeah.
And they're the same people who are running the institutions that are responsible for building out these young people for the next future. So I almost see that gap
Yeah.
will have a lag before you're able to change it. And I don't yet know how you disrupt that thing. With
Yeah.
Gen Zs being very aware,
Uh-huh.
maybe there's a way of doing it.
There's
I'm
something
sure.
that's come
I'm
to
sure
us.
that was.
Sorry,
Please go
sorry.
ahead.
Let
I'm
it come.
thinking you're paid based on how you how able you are to solve a complex problem. So
Yes.
the more the complexity, then
The more the
the more you get
compensation.
paid.
Yeah.
So I'm asking myself, what are the problems of the future? Right? If
Mhm.
if writing a software will no longer be a problem of the future,
Mhm.
there definitely is going to be a problem then.
Mhm.
And
So
I don't know if
what
it'll
is
be
going to
social
be?
problems or whatever. I don't know what
Yeah.
that would be. Like, what are these problems of the future that will have value such that if you solve for that,
Yeah. You'll actually
then you're
be
making
set
Maybe I would
because
say wellness clinics. There'll be a lot
live
of guys,
experiences. Yeah.
especially guys
yeah,
who've been in the 9 to 5.
yeah.
A lot of them will be disrupted, and they will have
Oh,
a bit of
100%.
discovery impact to try and figure out how to work through that.
So what are the problems of the future? And on the other hand, what is an appropriate reward? Because it can't be money. Yeah?
Yes, it can't be
Yeah.
money.
Both are changing, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm.
I think that's a question that we can't say we have an answer, but it's something that
Maybe it's a thing I can end this
yes,
task for.
I think it's a good segue to at least wrap up our first conversation. As you can tell, we're also still figuring it out. I can't say anyone has a monopoly of truth or insights, but I think as we go along, we'll be sharing some of the cool things you're doing, the steps you're making. Some of the learnings will fall flat on our faces, but I guess it's part of the discovery process because there's no one who has a blueprint yet.
I'd ask you a question of what they are to expect from us coming forward. This is our first time we're trying. And I think, as I can see, it was just normal discussions. From where I'm expecting, at least for me in this journey, is just share. I think,
Sure.
as you said, we've walked along this journey. I find it's going to be very important to have a forum like this and discuss ideas like this, so that from my end is an opportunity to attract like-minded people who would want to
100%.
have this kind of conversations, and they join us in this
Yeah.
journey.
And I think
Join us at the Kaya.
at the Kaya, conversations at the Kaya, I think that's a good enough uh, parting shot. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Enjoy the conversation as always. I can't wait to see, what to talk about next.
Sawa sawa.
Yeah.
Catch you soon.
Cheers.